The next game will be played against Grandmaster Bolbochan from Argentina.
Okay.
In that time, he was one of the best players from Argentina, together with Najdorf and Pano and so on. Very strong team. And it seems that he came from a Romanian family. I met him there by playing some tournaments in Argentina, and we had a chat like this. And he
Hmm.
told me that his grandfather and so on came from Romania, a long time
Hmm.
ago. He
Interesting.
didn't. He didn't
Speak Romanian, I
speak
guess.
Romanian, but he was a very strong player, of course.
Hmm.
And we'll see the game against
And he
Bobby.
says something that he wants to visit Romania,
He
or
wanted to, yeah, but until the end, I think he didn't
hmm,
come to Romania. Unfortunately for him,
there were different times.
it was different time. Of course, Romania was a
Difficult.
communist country and so on. It was much more difficult than now.
The name sounds a little bit Romanian. Bolbo.
Bolbochan,
Hmm.
yes, maybe, but he told me himself that
Hmm.
probably it was true. So, okay. Here we played the normal variation, knight door variation for black. Knight takes, knight f6, knight c3, and a6. Okay, in that time, the normal lines for white was, of course, bishop g5, bishop c4, and f4. Later on, they started to play some other lines, more positional, bishop e2, preferred by the Russians, Geller, Karpov, and so on. Even a4 was played. G3 was really more or less positional. Okay, playable. And h3. H3 looks a little bit strange, but okay, bishop e3 was also played. The English variation, the English grandmaster preferred bishop e3 later on. Now it's very modern. Bishop e3 is one of the main lines. H3, it was Bobby contribution to this variation.
And what is
From
the
time to
idea
time,
to?
he prepares very quickly g4.
Hmm.
He wants to put the pawn in g4. Positional line by trying to attack immediately very quickly, but in some positional, you know,
Style.
style more a little bit different from the normal lines. Bishop g5, bishop c4, f4, much analysis and so on. Okay, h3. Now knight c6, normal, and g4. All right. So after this move, knight takes, queen takes, and provocative e5. Why is provocative? Because if you can't do something very quickly, later on, finally, white has control of the d file and the d5 square. And as always in Sicilian, if white can arrive to such a position with a very strong knight in d5 against a weak bishop from e7, for instance, white is always much better and has, many tactical possibilities. All right. So from here, the game will be very interesting. Queen d3. Maybe, he wanted to play e5 because if he played uh, e6 after g5, it was already the pawn from g7 under attack. So therefore he played e5. Okay, bishop e7. All right. So here quickly g5. Now what to do now? It's clear. The knight has to go away, and white has time to arrive very quickly in d5. You see? Okay, knight d7, bishop e3 first. Of course, now if you take in g5 and you give the pawn from d6, is much better for white, of course, now. So, right, knight c5, queen d2. Now we see the result. It's clearly better for white because he has the control on the d file and the d5 square. Clearly better for white. All right. So queen d2, bishop e6. What is castle? All right. Castle. Good. After castle f3, he prepares, controls the e4 square, and now in some other lines later on, he wants to trade the white bishop in h3. This is the idea, to play h4 and bishop h3. And if you are forced to trade the bishop, white has absolute control on the e5 square. You see, this is the strategical line for white.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so f3, rook c8, h4, no, rook b8, king b1 first. Knight d7 back. He realizes there's nothing there. He has to have a defensive position, but the white has already the advantage now. So h4. He prepares this idea, bishop h3, b5. And here, bishop h3. Okay. Now, black maybe could try to play knight b6 or b4, but even after this, is completely, is clear better for white. Why? For instance, after knight b6, he could even take in b6, takes with the queen, and knight d5 immediately. Clearly better for white. Can't take in d5.
Yes.
And if you can't take in d5, white has absolute control all over the board, Much better. And if you are forced to go back to d8, you lose the pawn d6, and it's finished. If you don't take in d5. If you take in d5, you lose something. If you don't take in d5 and you come back with the queen, he takes simply in d7, in e7, and queen takes d6.
Yeah.
Winning, Yeah. Okay, so unpleasant. What to do?
But if he pushes this, what is happening?
If he pushes the same thing, knight d5, much better. Because now you have to take in d5. Again, he can take back with the queen, And now what to do? Complete control on the diagonal, You can't play immediately knight b6, and very unpleasant. What to do now with black? If the only move is here, a5 is very sad for black,
Yeah.
Very difficult to find a good move here for black, you see. All right, so he took in a3, but now, if you look at this position, it's very clear that black is in big trouble, He's in big trouble, not only because the pawn from d6 is weak, but the control in d5 is terrible. Afterwards, white has a knight forever in d5, and he can prepare the final attack, all over the board. And it will be a real demonstration, the rest of the game. Very beautiful, you see. Not very complicated for this level, but very beautiful. But until now was important because it was strategical line, you see.
Yeah.
I explained the strategical idea for white. Now he can realize the advantage, you see, knight b6, and he gives the bishop, of course, and finally knight d5. And look, now we go back, of course, the only move, and f4. He opens. Now, if you want something, you have to take, it's very unfortunate for black, but if you have to take in f4, it's terrible, If you don't have time to take in f4, then white can even push later on in f5, and it's even stronger, you see.
Yeah.
Terrible position. So, but if you have to take in f4, again, it's terrible for black, because white can do everything he wants. So he took in f4, he took with the queen, and queen d7. And now again, queen f5. Very simple. Now, if you take in f5, you can resign immediately. You lose a piece with check in e7.
Okay.
Yeah. So what to do? Rook d8. Now, what did he play? Rook d8 now.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if he played back in this in d8 with the queen, again, after queen takes c8, resigns in one move. Queen takes c8, knight takes e7 check, and you lost the rook.
Yes. So if it's
So,
going
what
like
to do?
this,
The only move, rook d8. It's very unpleasant, but forced. Rook d8.
so here is
Of
this.
course, the other rook in d8 loses again. Queen f5. Yeah. The other rook f d8, for instance, loses again at least the exchange. How? Queen takes, rook takes, knight b6. Resign.
Yes.
Not in 2-3 moves, but to resign, later on.
Yeah.
Okay. So from here, black has the only moves all the time, Has to do it, Rook d8. Now, rook a3 prepares the next idea, he wants to have another weakness. So now what to do here in this position? Queen a7, desperate. He wants to give a pawn. If he loses only a pawn is, fantastic for black, but he doesn't lose a pawn. Now, again with tempo, rook c3. He prepares moves, rook c7, decisive. What to do? Again, the only move. g6, the last hope. But this is another weakness. Another weakness on the other side, Because now, later on, white has time to maybe to play h5 or to force you to play yourself h6 later on, like in the game, So, the queen goes back. Queen g4 again. The diagonal, that controls the diagonal, very important. So now what did he play? Queen d7, the only move again, move by move. A very, very big chance for black that he doesn't lose quickly in a few moves, that he could still resist. Queen f3. Now again, the threat is terrible. Rook c7. Now again, the only move, queen e6, because rook c8 loses immediately after knight b6.
Yes.
In one move, you see. So
Yeah.
queen e6. Okay. After queen e6, look at this. Rook c7, again with tempo, you see. Now again, rook e8, the only move, because rook d7 loses again in one move after knight f4.
The queen
Rook
is
d7.
yes.
Rook d7, knight f4 attacks the queen, and you have to give the queen or lose the rook. You see. Every position, by one move like this.
Wow.
Rook e8. Okay, rook e8. And okay, now white has the knight in d5, could come with the rook in c7, fantastic rook there, as completely winning endgame all over the board. I mean, he can even play rook a7, rook takes x6, if he wants to win in positional way. But of course, Fischer wants more, So here he realizes the final attack, Look at this. Everything with tempo. Now the only move, queen e5. Rook d5. Now the only move, rook g7. Oh, pardon, queen h8. Look this. Queen that's terrible. Rook h8. Of course, white has fantastic position, but he has to realize,
I even has time to
No,
play.
a3 is an excellent move because now black is Zugzwang. What to do? You can't move the bishop, for instance, to d8 because he's almost Zugzwang all the time. If you open the line, the 7th rank. So, of course, desperate, of course, but it seems to be the only move here to open a little bit the position to try to have a small counterplay, h6.
Yeah, but what is wrong with this one?
No, it's okay. It's a move. Now, after rook d7 or rook b7, complete Zugzwang.
Again, the same idea.
Yeah, terrible position.
Yeah.
But all right. So, okay, h6. And now look, the final blow, finally, because it opens completely the position. Now, white, of course, white probably wins in many ways, you see. But the most spectacular win is like this, you see. He took in h6, no? Now, black took. Finally, it seems that white, lost a little bit the initiative, but the position is completely winning because he opened completely. So now h5. Now, what to do now with black? He had to play like this because if he plays here g5, look at this, another possibility.
Yeah.
Now white wins in a positional way, but completely, Knight e2, knight g3 or knight d4, and the knight comes to f5. If the knight is in f5, you see, it's terrible. Okay, so bishop g5, the last hope. Bishop g5, the last hope. And look here. He took in g6, and here, surprise, very nasty move, very logical one, queen b3, and you can resign.
But why he didn't took the knight here?
Because he's mate afterwards. If he takes, this position, he can take in f4, yeah?
Yes.
If he takes in f4,
maybe the rook is coming here?
No. Well, he can even take in, he can take in f7. Yeah, he can take in f7. Takes with the rook, yeah? And rook h5. Okay, he wins in any position. Even if he takes there and rook f5 wins. But rook h5 is terrible. And here he can resign again. But okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, he wins in any position. But here, he played bishop. What did he play? He took in g6 now. Yeah. With the bishop in g5, he took in g6.
Yes.
And here, queen b3. Decisive. Because now the king is very weak, you see. The big diagonal. Therefore, we see why Fischer prepared with the move a3. That was the idea.
His a3 is from
he
here?
He played the a3 because now the king, the white king, can move away in a2. And this possibility, the tactical blow, is possible,
There is
everything is forced,
Yeah.
No counterplay for black at all, here. Very nice. Not
Yeah.
very complicated, but very beautiful, of course, no? The technique, fantastic technique, you know.
So he took here.
He has to take now. And now look at this, check now. Mate in a few moves.
Mm.
Rook, king f8, he has to play king f8. Now he takes, of course. You have to take, and
He
here
resigned.
queen, he resigned because he wins by force. Probably with queen e6, check the first move. You know. Now if you go to d8 is mate, if you go to f8, yeah, rook c8 check, and mate in g8 later on.
Yeah.
No, terrible position. Or queen or rook c7 check is mate. No, terrible position. Is mate.
Yeah.
Is another mate with rook c7 check, king f8, and queen c8 mate. You know. Queen c8 mate. Look at this.
Yeah.
Punishment again. You know. Because the position was like this. White could do everything. Black is only move to defend in every position. And finally, it was too much, you know.
Yeah.
Because every position was much, much better for his opponent. You know. As I told you, everything was very clear right after the opening because of this fantastic knight from d5 against the weak bishop from e7. Well, everybody knows about this high level, but you have to demonstrate it. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, he could demonstrate it, very easy. But,
Yes.
you know,
Powerful
high
knight.
class, you know, best level, I mean, best players of the world, you know.
Best lesson.
Best lesson again, very, you know, 19 years old, Bobby. Yeah. But exactly 10 years later, he became world champion. Yeah. Okay, Bobby Fischer.
It took, yes, Bobby Fischer. It took some time, but
Yeah, it took some time. Always takes a little
yes.
bit of time, of course.
True.
Well, but in his final years, I mean, in 72, it was almost impossible to resist. You know, has such a fantastic advantage of all over the others. You know that it was very clear. Therefore, everybody considered him the best players in chess history, even Tal and the others, you know, Spassky and so on.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rugio.
You're welcome.